Good morning, Anne.
Good morning, James.
And good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, you are all having a great Sunday or a great week whenever you are listening. So if you have not tuned in before, for the next half an hour, Anne and I are going to have a conversation. And genuinely, we don't specifically know what we are going to discuss. We shall see how it goes,
Yes,
as always.
as always.
And fingers crossed, you enjoy listening and you find it interesting.
Good.
Okay. Are you happy to begin, Anne?
I am, yes.
I was thinking this week about your past when you were younger.
Yes.
And what seems to me to be a period of change and excitement, particularly for a young person. And you lived through it. So the 1950s, the 1960s,
Yes.
your teenage years and your young adult years.
Yes.
And about what life was like, what life in Britain was like, how it felt. Obviously, I'm romanticising it a little bit, and there was a lot of difficulty as well. But I am keen to explore whether that idea of it being alive and swinging and rock and roll and excitement and change and fashion and music and sport, colour television, things really progressing and moving forward with electricity. Was it like that?
It was very much like that because the first television we got was in 1953.
Yes.
When I was crowned May Queen at the local church. My dad got a television.
Yes.
Because that was in the May, and then of course it was the coronation, so he got a television so that people could come into the pub.
Yes.
And all watch the coronation. So that's when the excitement actually started then in the 50s.
Yes.
More than any time, because what a wonderful time we were having a queen on the throne.
Yes.
And everybody was excited and wanted to see, and nobody had clothes. So imagine you've had no clothes at all.
Because of the Second World War?
Because of the war, because of the Second World War.
And then the rationing post-war?
Rationing was still on in 53.
Was it? Wow.
Yes, it didn't finish till 1956. But we would see fashion. We would see all the clothes that the Queen and, everybody was wearing. Things we hadn't seen at all.
Yes.
And the golden coaches. Imagine if you've never seen a golden coach and you've had war and you've walked around in bombed, you've walked out of your house and everything bombed, and suddenly you've got this wonderful coronation. So everybody was excited.
So people felt hopeful.
Very hopeful.
I get the feeling that people may feel today that would be out of touch with the common people, and that with people living through such adversity and with very, very little,
yes,
that such ostentatiousness could be interpreted as being insensitive, demonstrative,
we didn't
grandiose.
Think that then. No.
That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah,
you were proud of it.
You were very proud,
and it made you feel uplifted and elevated.
Yes,
and I'm not belittling that at all.
No.
I suppose I am holding it to account a little bit.
Yes.
You feel that life has become cynical now.
Oh, very cynical.
And that is starving people of optimism and hope.
Yes.
I interrupted you there. You were talking about hope. It was a very hopeful time.
Yes, it was. A really hopeful time. So we had the coronation, and of course I started work when I was 15.
Yes.
So then you started work, you can afford to go out and buy clothes.
Yes.
But lots of clothes were still made. But we had the excitement. Can you imagine being alive at the time when Elvis came? The rock and roll.
Yeah.
It was, I can't explain to anybody how exciting it was to dance. And
that is my feeling, that it was exciting.
It was so exciting.
To be a young person then must have been so thrilling.
So everybody, you go into a dance hall and everybody's jiving.
Yes.
And you're in the middle of it all. And it was such an exciting time that it's difficult to explain. And then, of course, we all worked very hard because of, after the war, we had to rebuild this country as well.
Yes.
So people they weren't only enjoying themselves, they were working very hard.
Yes.
To get this country back on its feet.
Yes.
But so the 50s themselves, you can't, it's very, very difficult to describe because they had factories. You would go to factories where you would see people sewing. And although people would say it's like slave labour, it wasn't.
No.
You had rows and rows of people with sewing machines or even typewriters. Can you imagine yourself a time, no phone, no computer, nothing, but you had typewriters. So you used to have a room full of typewriters.
Yes.
And nobody could use your typewriter.
Wow.
Like they would say, nobody can use your fountain pen.
Yes.
So I have a fountain pen and nobody can write with my fountain pen because it spoils the pen.
It's specific to you.
Yes, exactly.
It's personal to you.
Yeah. And so your job with your typewriter was as well.
Do you feel the mood of the nation, the mood of people, and maybe even the mood of humanity? That's such a large thing to say, but certainly the mood of the people around you, the community and the United Kingdom. Was it hopeful? Was it optimistic? Were people encouraged by work and play and life? Did they feel what we are talking about?
Work was very, very important. Very important to have a job.
I'm talking about, I agree with what you're saying
Yeah.
in terms of it, that being an important point. What we are discussing and celebrating about the electricity of
Yes.
life and the change and the colour and the vividness of it
Yeah.
and how alive and kicking it was. Rock and roll, baby. Yeah. Did the general population feel that? Was that a common consciousness?
Optimism.
There was an
Faith.
optimism. Yes.
Hope.
Yes.
Optimism. If you asked me to describe now
Yes.
and then,
Yes.
I would say 2 words.
Yes.
Optimism,
Yes.
pessimism.
There you go. And we are living in a period of pessimism at the moment.
Yes, definitely.
And that was a period of optimism.
Oh, yeah. Everybody, you smiling. It's very difficult to explain because, even children running around shops and nothing in the hands.
Yes.
We've become, I think pessimism comes from phones and the way we live our life these days because we don't communicate face to face.
Right.
How often do we see smiles? Just natural smiles going around.
Yes.
So
I agree, yes.
I would like people to start listening to what they're saying themselves and what other people are saying.
And let us bring back a sense of optimism,
Oh, absolutely.
of hope.
Because there is hope.
There is hope. Do you feel that the war, the Second World War in
Yes.
your case, brought about that period of optimism? Or do you feel that the period of optimism that you are describing would have happened anyway? Or was it because of the counterbalance of such adversity, such trauma, such suffering and such loss that brought forth such a counter movement?
Maybe. There's a little bit of that. But I also know that during the war
Yes.
itself, there was optimism.
Okay.
During the war, there was no pessimism. That maybe seems surprising to your generation.
Yes.
We weren't scared.
It's difficult to believe.
It is difficult to believe.
I'm not saying
But
you're
remember,
not
I
telling
was
the
a
truth.
child,
I'm not
so-
saying you're not telling the truth,
No.
but it is difficult to comprehend.
Yeah, obviously when a bomb's dropping, you're
Yes.
scared. But you've always...
People weren't living in fear.
No.
Would that be a true statement?
The determination was to win
Yes. No
over
surrender.
adversity.
Yes.
That's the secret of life, is that you win over adversity.
Yes.
Do we have that today, I wonder? Or are we too much in adversity
We
rather than
Will prevail.
yeah,
Victory.
victory? Yeah.
Victory at all costs. Obviously very famous
Yes.
statements from famous individuals of that period of time. I do think it's important. One of the key sub-themes coming through this for me
Yes.
is the period we are in now, to rekindle something like, maybe even something more, to be bold,
Yes.
than the level of optimism and hope and cooperation and collaboration and community that you were talking about in terms
Yes.
of the 1950s into the 1960s. in the United Kingdom, can we voluntarily and willingly choose that now without going through such a global war or such a global event of suffering? Can we choose to deviate the path that we are on and choose the path of hope before such an event, rather than going through it and having to then pick ourselves up afterwards, which it is what it is. However, there is the option, in theory at least, and I would stretch that to in life, as in it is possible, that if we feel that a certain course of events are becoming ever more probable and potentially leading to inevitable, at what point are we going to wake up to that and change course, change paths globally as a human community, and to celebrate humanity rather than war and destruction? Because I absolutely know, as the human race, we are at a critical point, a fork in the road between global destruction and transformation. Transformation doesn't necessarily mean that life needs to be altered radically. Transformation of attitude.
Yes.
In as much as what we have been discussing, eulogizing about, enthusing about, passionately, rapturally, is that a word? Certainly with rapture and roar.
That's how you feel anyway.
Yeah, well, there we go. I'm making up words as we go along. There you go. That level of hope and glory, to be honest with you. And people used to sing that, didn't they? A land of hope and glory. With pride. And I'm talking about pride of community, not
that still
self-pride.
brings tears to my eyes when I hear it.
Land of hope and glory.
Yes. Yeah. Always. It always brings tears to my eyes.
And Jerusalem.
Yes. Yes. And I remember when we went to Jerusalem, when Jim and I went to Jerusalem,
Jim is your...
was my husband.
Your ex-husband,
my
yes.
ex-husband, yes.
Only so people know who you're talking about, that's all.
So when we went to Jerusalem, and we went at Christmas, and as we got in the coach, and we had a Jewish lady who was our guide, and she gave us song sheets, and she said to us, I want you all to start singing Jerusalem, this song, but you don't start singing it until I tell you. And we're in this coach, and obviously that's it's a very emotional song, and that is for me as well. And as we were singing it, and she said, you only start when I say it, and she had to start singing it now. And as we got to the chorus of Jerusalem, Jerusalem, as we turned the corner, we could see the dome, the golden dome of Jerusalem.
Yes.
And that still makes me feel emotional.
Yes.
Because it was such an important moment.
Very important.
And another instance in that was that when we went to see the manger, on Christmas Day this was, and when you go to see the manger, and you go down, this is in Bethlehem, and you have to, in those days, it's a long time ago now, you had to go downstairs, you still have to go down steps, and then the manger is on one side and you just stand, and usually people walk through. But in actual fact, there weren't many people. It was after some terrorism there that we went. And we were stood singing. She gave us song sheets again, singing Away in the Manger.
Yes.
And we were singing Away in the Manger as we heard other steps coming down the stairs. And as we were singing it, they started to sing with us, and they were Germans.
Wow.
And they stood behind each one of us.
Yes.
And were singing Away in a Manger with us in their language.
Yes.
And us in ours. What a moment. British people.
Yes.
And Germans singing Away in a Manger together.
That's such a poetic, poignant and meaningful moment, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It really is.
It's how we should be now.
In the unity of humanity.
Yes.
The song Jerusalem hints at the land that we live, pastures green and true, being a land of change and importance, shall we say, and a story to be
wonderful story
lived. And there is that feeling about the 1950s, 1960s, maybe early 1960s, And maybe we could stretch it to 1966 with England winning the World Cup.
Absolutely. But optimism again.
Yeah, some people are on the pitch. They think it's all over. But it is now. Jeff Hurst has scored. Yeah. About building, and I mean this respectfully, genuinely respectfully, poetically, to be honest with you for now, the building the new Jerusalem, in as much as the welfare state was being born, the Labour government had introduced the NHS, a sense of care for each other and a sense of working people being set free with imagination and colour, and a sense of togetherness and a pride in Britishness and a worldview that was tolerant and encouraging and optimistic. And of course that's romanticising it, and of course there were difficulties, and of course there were different points of view, and there was a lot of tension and challenge, and there were still conflicts and wars going on around the world and all kinds of different things bubbling away, as there are now. But there was a sense of possibility, and I feel that that is what's been lost, is that people have lost a sense of possibility, and I would like to bring that back. I'd like us all, everybody listening, to at least open our hearts to the sense of the possible.
Yes, definitely.
That peace on earth, in its promise, may seem so unbelievable, and I understand that. I find it unbelievable when I take a look at what's happening every single day. But the possibility of the human community coming together and celebrating each other, and that care prevailing, and that love prevailing, and that hope prevailing, and the faith in humanity being unmoved and unbreakable, despite everything that should put it down, but it does not. And maybe that's the hope that we can find. Maybe that's what you found during that time, that you had living proof that the human spirit rises, and that dictators rise, and that regimes rise, and that evil rises, and it tries to conquer. And for a time it may do, and for a place it may do. But in the end, dictators fall and regimes fall. And although they rise and rise again, the goodness of humanity shall and does prevail. And we are at that precipice now. Can the goodness of the human community together finally, once and for all, unite together to prevail forever?
Yes, but that starts with one.
Yes.
That doesn't start with a large community.
Absolutely.
It starts with one. And that's each individual
Absolutely. I agree with you. And everybody listening this morning, all of you, as ordinary as we all are in so many ways, that doesn't mean that we can't have extraordinary hope, be united by an extraordinary faith, and fulfill an extraordinary good. Acts of ordinary people in extraordinary ways have changed the world over and over and over again. So there is no, what can one person do?
One person can start it.
Absolutely. We can all change the world. We can change our world in as much as we can change our thought about it as a starting point. It's possible.
That starts how we wake up in the morning,
possible.
Doesn't it?
Yes.
How do we wake up in the morning?
Slowly.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah. I love the mornings. I enjoy the mornings. I don't particularly enjoy waking up, but I'm always glad when I am awake. I very much enjoy the mornings.
Yes.
However, I'm not super keen on waking up, although I am always grateful when I am up. And I do like to get up early, and I do get up relatively early, and I'm always grateful when I do that. You are very much an early riser.
I am an early riser.
You very much are an early riser.
It's do we wake up and are we grateful? That's the point. It's gratitude, isn't it?
Yeah,
are we grateful to be alive and live on this beautiful planet?
Yes.
And that leads into many things then, doesn't it? Is the gratitude for the beautiful planet we have as well, that we don't destroy it.
Absolutely. And I mean, it really is beautiful. By anybody's stories or belief system or worldview or cosmic view, the appreciation for the planet that we have, I mean, it's extraordinary. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yes.
And life is so unusual.
Yes.
I know that's not an answer to a question, that it's bamboozling to anybody to think about.
Yes.
I absolutely agree that a natural accessible reaction, feeling, is of gratitude and of celebration.
Yes.
But
We should have it.
But an anchored celebration. I don't mean in terms of...
No. Not wishy-washy.
No, something that's deeply meaningful and centred.
We don't know the power we have within, do we?
I think people do in moments.
Do you?
Some people, yes, I do. And I hope everybody listening has had moments in your life when you have felt something that has surprised you. When you've said words that you thought you would never say. When you found a courage that you thought you never had. When you stood up for something that you thought you never would. Or you created something that was beyond what you thought was possible. When you've believed in yourself in a way that came to fruition. When you've seen the goodness in yourself. And when you've witnessed the goodness in somebody else. When they've truly surprised you. That there is a faith in humanity, a deeper truth, a deeper magic, a deeper meaning that's come to the surface. It may have only been one instance in a whole lifetime, but it sticks with you and it shines and it won't go out. And you recall it often in your thoughts. And I hope and trust that you all have at least one instance of this that has showed you there's something going on here that may not be easily answered and certainly impossible to define, but there is a sense of it. And I would agree with you. Everybody listening, everybody has greatness within them, has an unlimited potential and power. And that power is unlocked by us coming together. That we together are the strongest force there ever could be. Humanity united is stronger than anything. We are the force of life. We are life.
But they don't understand they all have that light. Every being on this earth has that light.
Yes.
Every human being. A dog shines all the time. Human beings dim their light.
Yes.
So why are we allowing it to be dimmed? If we all stood and shone at one time, we could have peace on this earth.
Absolutely.
In one moment.
Absolutely.
And this, I think, is what I'm trying to say, is that it starts with one. And you light everybody else's light from your light.
Yes.
We could change it tomorrow. Because there's only one light.
Yes.
And that's what we need. We need to come together. And as you've said, this world is in a mess. The world's in a mess at the moment. And that moment in Jerusalem when I stood and those Germans came behind us and stood, we were one.
Unity.
Unity, one, yeah. Unity,
Yes.
one.
It's so important, Anne, and thank you for sharing. It requires us to unify. We have to recognise that we are one humanity.
Yes.
And there isn't ultimately an us and them.
No.
There isn't our nation and their nation. There isn't our beliefs and their beliefs. Of course there are on the surface, but we are one human family. A mother is a mother. A mother is a mother whether you are Indian, Russian, Italian, Nigerian, British, American, South African. A mother is a mother. A baby is a baby.
Yes.
Love is love.
And that cord is never severed.
And that we have so many mothers on this earth who are having their heart wrenched out of them because their children are being killed.
Yes.
And their children are suffering. Made worse by people talking about it as if it's numbers. And this is happening the world over in obvious attritional conflict and war, but also in gangs and in abuse and in all manner of guises, and also the insurgence of technology into children's lives and the takeover of technology and AI with the human mind, and particularly with children's minds. If there's one group of people that can understand, maybe not explain, maybe not comprehend, maybe not even believe, but one group of people on this earth that would understand the cry of goodness to this world, that would feel, even if it was just for a moment, what it feels like for the life force, for what it is like to witness this earth, it would be mothers and the mothers of this earth. And surely we can see past the boundaries of colour and creed, of race and religion, of sexuality and politics, of class and money and education, and recognise that we are humanity, and we are one humanity, and the children of our earth, all of our children, need us to unite together now and enjoy and celebrate our differences and allow each to have that space. But if we aren't able to remember the central truth of us all, not necessarily agree upon how we define it or what story we talk about it or how we celebrate it, but recognise it in a feeling, there will not be peace.
No.
But what you said before is the most inspiring, hopeful truth, that it can happen in an instant.
Absolutely.
And that it's accessible to everybody, and that we can lead by example. And all of you listening have greatness within you. You have a life to live. You have a talent to share. You have words to say. You have a song to sing. You have a painting to paint, a book to write, a life to change. Now, it does not matter how ordinary you think you are, how ordinary you think your life is. You are an extraordinary being. And that whoever you smile at, whoever you talk to, whatever your job is, you have the capacity to change somebody's life. You will never understand, we will never understand the influence that we have on each other. You don't know what somebody else is going through. And by you acknowledging somebody, by you helping somebody, even maybe just smiling at somebody could save somebody's life. You can remind them of the hope of humanity, of the brotherhood and the sisterhood of our humankind. And that is so important. And although it may sound naive and whimsical and wishful and ideal, I cannot put forward a better direction for humanity than the nature of humanity. There is conscience, there is goodness, and we are able to access it. Now let us access it together today. I've spoken for a little while there, Anne.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I agree with everything that you're saying.
Well, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Yeah. It needs
what
saying.
would you like to say?
No, it needs saying. And I think that all I would like is that people to listen to what you're saying and to understand that nobody is alone. We might think we stand alone, but nobody is alone as long as we stand.
Yes.
The energy of standing and saying enough is enough. And I am at the stage now where enough is enough.
Yes.
It has to stop.
Yes.
I have to know every child is going to be safe. Every child. In every country. And in this world that we're living in. But we must do it together.
Yes. We can't do it any other way.
No, we can't.
We will find our way home together.
Ordinary people.
We will find who we are together.
Yes.
And
one
there
big
are
heart.
Grandeur and divinity and all manner of names to describe that. But in simple terms, we will find who we are together. And thank you to all of you for your continued support, engagement, questions, encouragement. We really, really appreciate it. And of course, you may feel slightly differently. You may think about things in a different way. And that's absolutely fine. I'm sure you all listening will agree upon every child on our earth being free.
Yes.
And being able to sing and dance and rest their head at night, being safe away from evil and tyranny. Every single child. I'm sure in the simplest of terms, we can all agree upon that. And there is nothing else in intention here, just genuine goodness for everybody, including you. So thank you for listening. I think we best end it there, Anne.
Okay, bye.
Short and sweet as always. Yeah. Have a lovely weekend, a lovely week. And if you'd like us to discuss any particular theme or topic, or you'd like to send a question in, please do. Okay, well, we'll leave it there then. We look forward to speaking with you and being with you next Sunday. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.